gigabytes of data they've been sharing on the internet, on social network. That they start to think is gone is the freedom of speech, and now people start to worry about all these terabytes of information they have been sharing on the internet, and they start to think, oh, what how it is going to affect when they in the future they will need to go looking for a new job, or for a new accommodation, or even if they want to travel and they need to apply for a visa. There is a way, is a way happening on the ground that I think the idea was floated in the United States. I don't know if what happened. I know it was floated quite at the top level. The idea that people can enter into the United States with the visa waiving passport. They may be required to provide to access to the social networking activities. So I know, I also heard that all the other countries in the world are working on similar schemes, like to people entering the country, asking them to provide access to their social networking activity. So there you go. So at the time we can start to see all the stuff happening in the internet, which is also that's another story, but it's also consistent to the true story of the internet, and that's I may talk about that a bit later. The thing is quite important to have some face-to-face, real-life rallying point, rallying opportunity for target individual, because I think there is 100 target individual in London, there is 100 of target individuals in this country. So I think is I think is I think is even though at the moment the support for these weekly vigils is fairly minimal. To be honest, it's fairly minimal. It's been people coming, joining me. Then when we had a meeting 6 weeks ago, there were 6 people there. But yeah, that is fairly minimal at the moment. It's not a huge amount of people joining me. But I think it's a good idea, particularly in light of what's happening with the internet, which is increasingly, out the communicating over the internet, all these social networks are showing themselves to be increasingly unreliable. So I think it's quite important to have a real life, face-to-face rallying opportunity on Wednesday outside Parliament. And then if people, it's very very flexible. You can come along. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to leaflet. You don't have to wear a placard. You don't have to do anything. You just can be there talking with all the other people there. I mean, so you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You could just come along, offer support by being there if you want. And then with regard to leaflet and placard and etc., I will bring down a lot of stuff which people are welcome to use if they want to. But also, it's very open and democratic. So if you like, if there is a particular issue relating to targeting that you are particularly concerned about, you're super welcome to make your own. Only takes a piece of cardboard and a felt pen. You can make your own placard, and that's absolutely fine. If you want to print out your own leaflet, that's also absolutely fine. As long as people don't come up with stuff which may get us into trouble, like advocating violence, or maybe go for crazy things that can discredit all of us, including the whole target individual movement. But as long as it's within reason, people can make their own leaflet. If they don't go over certain boundaries of advocating violence, or They can make their own placard, they can print their own leaflet. They're super welcome, very open, very democratic, very relaxed, and everything. And then if people think they probably, oh, at the stage I am at, I feel more inclined to meet the eye, to talk, and to exchange experiences, rather than take part in a vigil, then what I can say to you, come attend, because come attend toward like about half past 3 p.m. And then because every time we had many times we had vigils, either outside Parliament, outside the BBC, and there were any number of people. Well, afterward, we always got together in a cafe for a coffee, for a bit of food, usually often for hours, people talking for hours. So I mean, if you think I'm more interested in like talking with other victims and exchanging experiences, and yeah, well, come at 3:30 towards the end, and then we always go to a cafe. We spend quite a bit of time, a lot of time talking and stuff. So that's yeah. So obviously people can come at the beginning at 2 o'clock. They can come halfway through. And they can come at the very end if they just interested in having a coffee and having a chat with people. They can just come at 3:30. So I try to make it. It's not too long. 2 o'clock to 3:30. So I know. The visuals are not everyone cup of tea, so I try to make it as user friendly as possible. It's not too heavy, it's not too long, it's very relaxed. Usually, I remember all the time we've been around and having visual outside the BBC, outside Parliament. It was very friendly, very relaxed. There never been any problem, any friction. So it's very friendly, very relaxed. People can do whatever they want. If they just want to be there, talk with other people, they can do that. They don't need to leave without to do anything. So it's as user friendly as relaxed as it can possibly be, and then I think it's also it fulfill a need, particularly at the time when we start to see what's happening with the internet. A few years ago, there was this illusion of total freedom of the internet, which was an illusion. And now we start to realize what is going on with the internet, with social network, with online activism. The limits of online activism is becoming increasingly clear. So I think there is a need to have a rallying point once a week for people to meet face to face in person, and maybe bypass the limitation of the internet, just meet face to face, and yeah. So that's not what I'm saying basically. If I can show you, I think if I can show you. See if I can show you the, so if I can find it. I created a Facebook event, and I created a Facebook event, and so let me show a couple of things to you. So I created a Facebook event. So incidentally, this is myself today. What it starts the BBC Broadcasting House is a video, and so what I did, I take a couple of videos. First video, I was explaining a bit the situation with Les, London and stalking, what's happening with me and Les, London and stalking. And then the second one, it was like a body cam video of broadcasted live all the time I was there. So if I can show you, so that's actually the second video, the body cam video. As you can see, the BBC there, it was already getting dark. And then the first video where I was explaining a bit what was going on there. Yeah, that was the one. And that is the events. That's events I organize for. So yeah, that's actually, you can see a picture there when you can see a picture there when so if I can show it, but a picture there of when actually we had quite a lot of people in front of Parliament. I think on today there you can see 5 people there. Then obviously there was myself, but then there was also a number of other people with that wanted pictures to be taken. So that was so at the time when we still able to get quite a lot of people in front of Parliament every week. So I think I was myself surprised of the people coming at the time, then all good things come to an end, I suppose, and now we are a bit struggling in numbers and things. So as you say, see, next Wednesday, 6th of March, March the 6th, from 2 o'clock to 3. Actually, there is thing going on. I may have actually to change the time a bit for next Wednesday uh, for a number of reasons which I'm not going to explain, but that is still in the making, so I don't know. It's going to be, the video is going to be gone. There may be, for a number of reasons which I'm not going to get into now, there may be a slide. I may have at some point to modify slightly the time, and then I will make sure that everyone showing any interest is going to be notified if I'm going to make a slide changing the timing of the video. So yeah, so at the moment it seems that the figure is not terribly good in terms of the number of people showing interest, but that may also have been caused by the fact that initially so initially okay, initially Facebook prevented me from sending out any invitation. That's quite capricious and a bit capricious and bizarre. It totally prevented me from sending out an invitation when I created the event a couple of days ago. And then I went back tonight. After coming back from central London, I try again, and fortunately this time I was able to invite a few people. So that's good, I suppose. And yeah. So that's the event. So I would encourage everyone to join in on Wednesday between 2 and 3 on the right hand side of the House of Parliament main carriage entrance. Is the big black gates, and then we are just immediately on the right. Here is to spot us because there is always some placard involved out and things. So that's and then I keep going on about. I would like to say a few words again about the fact that we are being enslaved, and quite deliberately by the establishment, by the various banking cartel. I think if people are being enslaved, and there is so much going on, and most people are kind of oblivious, or they start to realize that something is going on, only when possibly it affects them. And then for most people, it's very much too late to do anything about it. So that's what is going on basically. So you have I believe you have. If you look at North America, if you look at Europe, you have possibly in the region of 60-70% of the population currently living in abject poverty. We are talking actually working people mostly living in abject poverty. And in the 70s, they start moving out most of the manufacturing jobs to Southeast Asia, to other developing countries. And then, you saw, the cutting jobs, cutting wages, cutting welfare, also welfare state, destroying public services. and in a very crucial thing was also in this country, for instance, they've been destroyed. Not all, but most form of legal aid. So now, so you have a lot of people, which being victimized by unbelievable abuses of power, then they have no recourse because are totally unable to access any kind of legal aid. They obviously don't have the means to pay for a lawyer. So that's part of it. Then you have erosion of civil liberties, erosion of privacy. All the stuff they do without data information to talk about privacy is just a joke. And then freedom of speech is dying in front of our very eyes at the moment. So, I mean, is that they managed in a very short, in a very short period of time, we are almost a climate of terror when it comes to people. They created almost a climate of terror when coming to people and. What can I say? When it comes to people, and expressing themselves, expressing their opinion, or expressing any criticism of all the stuff going on, is almost increasingly people are being afraid. They're becoming afraid of. Speaking out about anything. So it has been happening in a in a very short period of time. It has been very much, somewhat connected with the Trump presidency. So in the sense that it's been happening at the same time, it started with the, Trump inauguration, and then I'm not going to say, I'm not going to blame Trump or that. It's either this is it's absolutely true that in the last couple of 2-3 years our freedom of speech is gone very rapidly. It's gone. Freedom of speech is gone, and either because you get criminalized, or because you get because of peer pressure, or because of you lose your job, or because you get incur some kind of digital debt, or you start to think of all the consequences. Freedom of speech is die very rapidly, and that is somewhat connected with the Trump presidency. I'm not blaming Trump. I only say either has been orchestrated by the people who opposing Trump, or it's been actually all this all kind of Russiagate thing, which started the whole ball rolling. It was a very sophisticated smoke screen on the part of people very determined to, this whole Russiagate thing. It was possibly a smoke screen. It's completely hoax. But was people were all mesmerized by all this nonsense about Russiagate. That there were people in the background working very actively to destroy our freedom of speech. So I'm not blaming Trump or supporting Trump. I'm just saying it's happened in the started with the Russiagate thing, and then now we wake up one day, our freedom of speech is completely gone, and it took maybe a couple of years, and now our freedom of speech is completely gone. So they're enslaving us, and often in the past, this is what I'm telling you is meant to be, everything I'm telling you is meant to be totally rational. So I avoid any kind of conspiracy theory unless there is some evidence, or I can bring to the table some kind of evidence. I avoid all kind of fanciful theories. But like I say, it's like we are being enslaved. We are all hostages at the moment. We are all hostages of the deep state. It is the propaganda machine. Basically, we are being enslaved. It's a fact. We are being enslaved economically. We are being enslaved politically. We are being enslaved psychologically, because everyone is now becoming afraid of speaking out about anything, including myself, because there's something I'm telling you, or some other thing I would like to tell you, but I know if I were to tell you some stuff going on in the background of this enslavement, who may be pointing some finger at the people who may be actually responsible for the enslavement, I know I'm going to find myself in big trouble. So I'm telling you certain things. Always try to be rational, always. I sharing some information with you. There is a lot of other information I would like very much to share with you. I am unable to, because I don't want to to find myself in big trouble. That's what would happen if I were to share some other information with you. For instance, who actually is actively working. We have the evidence. Pulling the string to enslave people. So I can only tell you always rational what I'm going to tell you, and I can only tell you certain things. The other thing, I'm self-censoring, because I don't want to get in trouble. And a part of this enslavement is like. Is interesting. I keep going back to this. I keep going back to this. See if maybe I can find some information for you. I keep going back to this. Let's have a look. If I can find some information for you. About this book, which is really, I've been reading very, very good, interesting book for quite a long time. But see if I can show you this book, which yeah, that's in time of our enslavement. I keep going back, harping back to this book, because there is this book is. Let's see if I can show a bit more of things. Okay, this book is a very important book. It is, Yasha Levin, which is the American journalist. It's called Surveillance Valley, the secret military history of the internet. And I keep going on about this, I keep going on about this. Let's see if I can get it better. I keep going on about this because basically it's a very important book, and his theory is that his theory. So we need to step back a lot of what is going on at the moment. We need to step back because step back a bit. Look what's happening after the end of World War II. And then you get the United States. It's become all of a sudden the United States find itself in a position of being taking the mantle of the British Empire, becoming the new young empire, which is a bit like the transfer between the British Empire and the new young American empire after 1945. And basically, this new young empire found itself under a lot of threats, either perceived or real. So we start to get into the 60s, at the end of the 60s, there was all this domestic dissent, and it's all these different movements. There's still a movement, and the Vietnam War movement, the civil rights movement, the Black Panther Party, etc., etc., etc. And then on the outside, there was the perception that communism was almost expanding all the time and taking over new countries all the time, and then even the countries which are not directly affected by communism, all these developing countries which are the previous colony of the British Empire, in most of these countries, newly free, just recently gained independence, and there was the strong liberation movement, strong anti-Western sentiment, strong anti-Western movement in most of these countries. So we got this new young American empire which feel threatened by all sides, and including including the Cold War with the old Soviet Union, and the fact that after a while the old Soviet Union managed to acquire nuclear weapon. So you know, and then in the end of the 60s, ARPANET was created. It was clearly a military endeavor. ARPANET, which was then to become the internet. At the ARPANET, the official story is like ARPANET it was created with the aim of establishing some sort of very resilient communication network which could potentially survive a nuclear strike, a nuclear war. But there is Yasha Levin in his book Surveillance Valley, the secret military history of the internet. What he is arguing is on the basis of a lot of huge amount of research, documentation, and a lot of freedom of information requests, and getting shifting through a lot of previously classified information, etc., etc. His conclusion is that actually the real reason the ARPANET-internet was created was to actually as a counterintelligence tool, which in a way is two sides of the same coin. In a way, you get this young empire. The perception of being under threat from all directions, the young American empire, this perception of being under threat from all kind of different directions. So on one end, Cold War, the paranoia of the Cold War. So on one end, they wanted a resilient network who could possibly survive a nuclear war. But on the other hand, there is even more. The ARPANET was designed to create the basis for a powerful counterintelligence tool to keep tracks of all the political activist movement, and then have in such a form that it could be easily shared by a number of different agencies, the military, the Pentagon, the law enforcement, local law enforcement on the different states, and the FBI, federal law enforcement. So maybe university, the official, running university, etc., etc. So that's according to Yasha Levin, that was the main purpose of the internet at the time. That was more, we talk about end of the 60s, early 70s. That was more like an aspiration, because obviously they did not have that much data then. They did not have the hardware, they did not have the software to create such a powerful counterintelligence tool. But now, after 70 years, possibly more, that I think that they're still probably struggling with certain issues relating to hardware, software, mainly how to be able to smoothly and efficiently process all the enormous amount of the information are collecting. So they're probably struggling a bit with that. The enormous amount of information, how to process it in a smooth way. They're still struggling with that, but I think they are almost there. They created this huge, which is like a social counterintelligence radar, where they can immediately flag, you know, keep an eye on all political activists, all kind of movement. Immediately, if there is a huge protest plan, or some people, you know, um, uh, you know, disseminating a certain kind of information online, or they can immediately flag it, and it's like a radar. They can immediately flag it. So that's what they have at the moment. And that's what you know. That's why I think we are being enslaved, because this is very much underway. They now they're no longer satisfied to collecting, you know. All our data, they're moving into biometrics, so they try to order up all these facial images and iris images and DNA, people DNA. Often they collect this, you know, they collect this information as part of maybe law enforcement operation. But then when they're supposed to destroy it, they hold on to it. So now they have also this obsession of ordering up. Everyone biometrics, and that is become a part of this social radar. But it is, and then on top of that, you have another something else, which is it's like a spider web made up of billionaire like you know, Richard Branson and Pierre Omidyar and Bill Gates and the Koch brothers and uh, you know, the billionaire NGOs, think tanks, uh, like for instance, in this country, recently we found out about the Integrity Initiative, that there is the Institute for Statecraft, that they've been trying to destroy Jeremy Corbyn and his allies in the Labour Party. We have the evidence. So but on top of this, like social counterintelligence radar, there is a sinister spider web which aim of completely brainwashing and controlling all kinds of social narrative. So you saw when they started spreading all this, you see the speed with which when they started to spread all these lies, this propaganda, totally preposterous stuff about Venezuela, how quickly it became the official reality, the official narrative. Because you get in a couple of days, this punk, young Guaido, is proclaiming himself as, completely out of the blue, proclaiming himself as the new president of Venezuela. In a matter of days, 2 or 3 days, all the 26 out of 27 states in the European Union, actually with the exception of Italy, they wanted to recognize Juan Guaido as the new president of Venezuela. Then the Italian government vetoed this initiative, and then so it was left to individual countries like this country and France and Poland possibly, to come out and recognize, also to support regime change in Venezuela, basically, because the Italian government is actually vetoed a unanimous resolution. But then you see how, like, you know, it's become, in a couple of days, all these things started, and then if you look at all the mainstream media, it's the fact, all these lies, all these horrible lies about Venezuela, they became the official reality. So yeah, that's the way we are being enslaved, and it's amazing the way they're able to completely control the narrative, because obviously mainstream media play a very important role, because they constantly bombarding people with the same lie, with the same misinformation, propaganda. So yeah, but I think now I would like to move a bit to the latest, we call it Orwellian Watch, and we can, look at some article of the last couple of days. All this Orwellian crazy stuff going on. The first one, I talk about the artificial intelligence game plan, and that what they're saying there is the artificial intelligence game plan, and what they're saying there is that's quite interesting because the author, a lady called Catherine Frompovich, there's talking about the to shift into human consciousness downward, and then say. There is a push for draconian control of information, awareness, enforce using addictive technologies, iPhone, highly addictive pharmaceutical, recreational drugs, including vaccine, video game, questionable fraudulent science, to change human DNA, our perceptions and intelligence. If you see at the speed with people up prepare, willing to accept all this preposterous lie, I talked before about Nicaragua, Venezuela, and all the things most of the things I say about Venezuela, they all, complete, total lies. But the speed with the mediation of mainstream media, they are able to foster their lives, brainwash everybody, so that in a couple of days, Venezuela is an evil dictatorship. It becomes the official reality, and then you challenge that at your risk and peril, because, for instance, after this punk Juan Guaido proclaimed himself as the new president of Venezuela, in the next couple of days, 2,000 people, 2,000 Twitter accounts of people were questioning the official version of the official lies propagated by mainstream media about Venezuela. They got their account deleted, for saying that some of the things I've been repeating in the last few days, Maduro was elected fair and square. Even Jimmy Carter, all the international servers, it was one of the cleanest elections they ever monitored. The people in Venezuela are not starving. There is more civil peace in Venezuela than in Colombia or even in Brazil, for instance. The supermarket and market are stuck with food and all kinds of things. I mean, it's all lies after lies after lies. The 2,000 people, for saying this kind of thing, for questioning the official lies about Venezuela, they got the Twitter account deleted. Okay, so that's so. Let's go back to the other Orwellian news. The debt accrued to dollar hegemony is unpayable by Vladislav Surkov. So what they're basically saying, basically, so what they're basically saying, now, in the United States, there is close now to $23 trillion of public debt, and possibly household debt is very, the figure for household debt is very similar in the region of 20 trillion. In this country, we have 2 trillion plus of public debt, 2 trillion plus of household debt. So what this article say? All this stuff is totally unsustainable. I'm not one of these people that they keep going for the last few years, telling you every week that the Western economy is going to collapse in 3 or 4 days or something. I'm not telling you that. I'm only telling you that the level of debt of both the United States, this country, and many other European countries and Western country is totally unsustainable. So That's a fact. Maybe they will manage to print money for the next 100 years, keep this, the house of cards, prevent the house of cards from collapsing and keep printing more and more money all the time. But who knows? I'm not telling you, I'm not going with conspiracy theory that like telling you that, I'm not telling you that the economy, I'm not going to herald the imminent collapse of the Western economy. I'm just saying that the level of debt are, almost unbelievable. Okay, then this one's quite interesting. U.S. block evacuation convoy at Syria, Rubkan camp, Russian MOD. So it's also interesting because the Syrian government is it's been bending over backward to when there is this situation with the ISIS people controlling certain region of still certain area of enclaves of Syria to try to evacuate the civilian population, but it would appear that the United States, in his, which is, it's been for many years pretending to fight ISIS, were trying to protect and, help ISIS in any possible way, that they don't want this evacuation because then they're terrorists. The ISIS terrorists will run out of human shields. So that's what seems the gist of the story. And that is a long story. We know. All these people are basically assets, Western assets, and all these people are basically Western assets. And we know what happened in Afghanistan when they, when after the invasion they managed to round up all the Al Qaeda people at Bora Bora, and they were completely like, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. But then they allowed them to flee into the mountains, yeah, because these people, these terrorists, these Western, the British Empire first, now the American Empire, they've been using terrorism as a tool of foreign policy, let's say, for maybe the last 200-300 years. So they always tell you that they're fighting terrorism and they're way helping terrorism and sponsoring terrorism. So let's see what. What is an interesting article, is by Michael Hudson, which I think the guy is a genius, and he said Trump's brilliant strategy. I think it's sarcastic in to end the US dollar hegemony. So what he's saying is that it has been, I not want to take side. I'm not Trump bashing or I'm not defending Trump, but I go with facts, right? I go with facts. And it seems that if the Trump administration were trying deliberately to sink the US dollar as a reserve currency, if that's what they want, they're doing exactly all the very right thing, because they're economically sanctioning Russia and China at the same time. So China and Russia, they're getting closer together. They're increasingly dumping U.S. Treasury and the dollar as the inter-transaction. The same thing is happening with Iran's sanctions and with Europe now. Even in France and Germany, they like moving away from the US dollar. So Michael Upson, I'm not engaging in Trump bashing. I only said if the Trump administration were aiming to sink the dollar as a reserve currency, they're doing exactly all the right things. If their aim is to sink the dollar as a reserve currency, they're doing all the right thing. They can't do anything more than what they're already doing. And then obviously, once the dollar is gone as a reserve currency, then we have to deal with 23 trillion of the US will have to deal with 20 trillion of public debt and 23 trillion of household debt. So, but let's see how that is going to unfold. Then there is the article by on Forbidden Knowledge by the excellent Alexander Bruce, Shattering Russia, Fake News. So obviously, that's particularly interesting because no one ever took the fake news. I mean, no one, they carry on. No one believe it anyway. No one they ever take it seriously anyway. So but so that's is a very good. That's a very good. That's about a book by the excellent Dan Kovalik. The plot to control the world. How the US spend billions to change the outcome of election around the world, possibly up to 70 times. So I think this is a very interesting book. And let's see. Oil and ideology, the truth behind US interest in Venezuela. Well, we know that's something that we know anyway. Oh, that's something which I will really like to show it to you because yeah, I came across the news about Chris Williams. It's something I feel quite strongly about. I came about the news of Chris Williamson suspension on Wednesday, just after I survived possibly an attempt of getting me to a quite serious road accident. And then I spent a couple of days trying to get my bike back to my local garage. So if I was spending a lot of time in cafe drinking a huge amount of coffee, and I was probably not in the best state of mind. And then I came across on my phone. I came across the information about the suspension of Chris Williamson. It's like it was like oh my God! I was already in a funny mood, and then I came across the information, and oh my God! I thought we are all fucked, really. I mean, freedom of speech is dead. We are all fucked, and for people who are not familiar with Chris Williamson is the Labour Member of Parliament for Derby. He's a very close friend of Jeremy Corbyn. He's a very close political ally of Jeremy Corbyn. He's basically a star. He's the star, I think he was the only member of parliament amongst all the 600 plus or whatever. I mean, to say anything in defense of Julian Assange, about the violation of his Julian human rights. He was, as far as he was the only member of parliament to take a stand about the unspeakable things that the historic government has been doing vis-a-vis of Julian Assange. And he was it's the only MP that immediately after all this Juan Guaido nonsense started, he said, he made a speech in the House of Parliament, defending the Maduro government, speaking against regime change. And then for his trouble, he got immediately savage by the old other 600 member of the House of Common Criminals, the House of Common Criminals, and they get immediately savage by the mainstream media for his trouble. So it's really it's really a star. It's someone I greatly admire, Chris Williamson. So he's been suspended by the Labour Party. And the reason it's been suspended by the Labour Party is because at the political meeting, at the political Labour Party meeting, he said that the Labour Party shouldn't apologize so much about all these fake. That's he didn't say that. I'm saying that fake allegation of anti-Semitism, right? It was what he was saying. He was saying we know we have, because we have the document, that is the document from the from the ACT information from the Integrity Initiative, financed by the government, by the way, financed by the Foreign Office. We know that we have the Institute for Statecraft document emails. We know that all these anti-Semitism row in the Labour Party is all been from beginning to end is been uh, orchestrated maliciously. Okay, so I mean, but he didn't say that. He didn't say what I'm saying now, which is go a lot further. He would only said he only said at his political meeting. That's all he said. He said that the Labour Party shouldn't be so apologetic about this anti-Semitism accusation, right? That's all he said. And what he meant, what I think he meant, he didn't say what he meant, but didn't say is that we have now a lot of evidence that all these anti-Semitism allegations have been completely orchestrated, completely hyped, completely. We have told the document from the Integrity Initiative, which is basically a propaganda machine. We have all the documents from the Institute for Statecraft in this country. And we have all the information from the Al Jazeera, the lobby documentary also. All these smears against, Jeremy Corbyn, his political allies, is all being contrived, right? Mind you, Chris, he didn't say any of that. He just said, um, all he said we shouldn't be so apologetic, meaning we have a case, we have a lot of information about the activity of this, integrity initiative. We have a lot of information about the activity of this Institute for Statecraft. We know what these people are getting up to often with using taxpayer money, smearing politicians, smearing Jeremy Corbyn, smearing the Labour Party. The information is all there. So what Chris was saying, he was saying, we have a lot of information. That we have the information that the anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, there have been studies, is actually there is less anti-Semitism in the Labour Party than in other political parties, that in the whole of society. That's what Chris was saying. So we have all the information. So we don't need to be so apologetic. We need to fight fire with fire and talk about the fact, talk about the truth, stand our ground. That's all he said. He didn't even say some of the things I've been saying. He just said, we shouldn't be apologized so much. We should stand our ground a bit in face of this fake accusation of anti-Semitism. Yeah. Immediately, all hell broke loose. But all he said, we shouldn't be so apologetic. If you have information, what he meant, he didn't even say what he meant. If you have information that all these accusations are contrived, you should be stand our ground and disseminate this information. That's what he said. All immediately, all hell broke loose. Everyone was accusing him of having said some or having said something or horrible anti-Semitic speech or something, having made some kind of horrible, monstrous anti-Semitic speech. Then very quickly, he was suspended by the Labour Party, even in spite of Jeremy Corbyn's effort to prevent it. But because unfortunately, a lot of most of the members of I'm sure most of the grassroots members of the Labour Party, 95%, they completely support Chris and they completely support Jeremy Corbyn. But I'm pretty sure that most of the members of the PLP, the Parliamentary Labour Party, they're all Blairite. and most of the people in the apparatnik of the party, all the people held in different positions in the bureaucracy of the party, unfortunately, they all still hold Blairite, which try to undermine Jeremy Corbyn at every possible opportunity. So basically, Chris was suspended, and now we get people like I need to be a bit careful when I talk about certain things because sometimes I get a bit carried away. But so I don't want to use any expletive. But people like Tom Watson now is calling for Chris, which is probably one of the most popular politicians in the Labour Party, maybe even more popular than Jeremy Corbyn. But no, we have this creature. I need to be a bit careful with my words. This creature, Tom Watson, sometimes to me look like it's something that just crawled out of under Estonian garden. Tom Watson, but I'm not going to say any more abuse about Tom Watson. Is calling for Chris to be expelled by the party. So, but let's have a look what his article got to say. Chris Williamson has been suspended from the Labour Party. What did Chris do to warrant this disciplinary action? Oh, yes, that's another thing. That's that's quite interesting because about we are talking here about the privilege member of parliament they have of booking a room in parliament to organize event to organize event. um, um, but what is probably even more controversial, he booked a room in Parliament for screening of J.K. Walker film. J.K. Walker is another stand-up person, is a star. And anyway, J.K. Walker film The Witch Hunt. That was the Jackie Walker. She was a very popular member of the Labour Party. We was suspended or even expelled. I'm not entirely sure. It was certainly suspended. I don't think she has been reinstated yet. And she may even have been expelled from the party for criticizing the state of Israel and criticizing Israel's treatment of Palestinians, the Palestinian people. So it was not anti-Semitic in her remarks, or she was just criticizing it. But the thing is, Jackie Walker, she's Jewish herself, so and Jackie Walker, who's Jewish, she was suspended by the Labour Party for voiced criticism of the state of Israel, its treatment of the Palestinian people. So she like Chris, like Jeremy, she has overwhelming support in the grassroots of the party, but that doesn't seem to matter because then we have all this Blairite member of parliament, it is Blairite bureaucrats into the Labour Party, which is throwback from this creature Tony Blair and his tenure. And they do whatever they want, basically, in spite of what the grassroots will like or something. Yeah, so that's the charge against Williamson was led by Tom Watson. And I need to control myself about what I'm saying about Tom Watson. Sometimes I saw him passing through when I'm outside the House of Parliament on the number of occasions I see this lovely creature walking by, and Tom Watson, the deputy leader, a self-appointed overseer of complaint of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. It was quickly backed by anti-racist giants like Yvette Cooper, Margaret Hodge. She's another lovely lady, Margaret Hodge. She's really lovely. So the attack on Chris Williamson is not new. As the most vocal MP defending Corbyn against the attacks from the right. So it is the story. Now the latest is that quite a number of constituency Labour Party, namely, they growing. The number is growing every day. The constituency Labour Party, which are passing motion to rescind the Chris suspension from the party. I know I think there was a couple yesterday. There was a couple yesterday. Now today there was a few more constituency Labour Party which are speaking out in supporting Chris Williamson. I know from the yesterday, one of the first constituency Labour Party to support Chris was the Hackney North CLP, Constituency Labour Party, which is actually the one I belong to. So, and I think that was fantastic news. And then last night I was like, I came across some information that I was watching quickly this paper program on Sky News, which sometimes with Brexit and stuff, most of the time I get my news from Russia Today. I'm quite happy with that. I don't have any complaints about them, but occasionally, to find, you want to find out what's happening in Westminster and with Brexit and stuff. So sometimes I watch I watch the paper, either the paper on the BBC or the papers on Sky News when people review the next day papers and with all the main news. Even though it's not like the main news; it's like the main propaganda. Most of the time, it's not like the main news. They're reviewing the main propaganda items for these mainstream media creatures. So last night I was watching the review of the next day paper on Sky News, and it's immediately vitriolic comments about the fact that there is a number of Labour Party CLP, like the constituency Labour Party, that have been supporting Chris Williamson, including Hackney North, my own constituency Labour Party. So that was so infuriating because, the fact that they being constructed by this creature, these prostitutes, this prestigious creature, the fact that there was a number of constituency Labour Party supporting Chris Williamson, that was used as an evidence that there is rabid anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. These people, I don't know if they can live with themselves, talking about so-called journalists. When they look at themselves in the mirror in the morning, I don't know if they can live with themselves, the stuff they do, with the lies they propagate. So the fact that there was a number of, Chris Williamson is a star, is very popular with the grassroots of the party. It's hardly surprising that a number of constituency Labour Party are asking to rescind this suspension. But journalists immediately say, that is evidence that there is a rabid anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. I never heard such any worst nonsense in my entire life. Nonsense. Anyway. So let's go through. Okay, that's peak inequality. That's from the excellent counterfire. Peak inequality, Britain ticking time bomb. Yeah, what can we say about that? There is a nice picture of, there, which is, I think, lovely. And, but, what can you say about that? What you can say about that is that it's entirely possible that they may prevent a car being governed from ever happening. But if they do that, so they keep having Tory government, the austerity, they keep murdering, to disable the homeless and pushing millions into abject poverty, they may very well be able now to avoid a corrupt government, but but in 10, 15 years' time, they may have to deal with something a lot more sinister. So, but these people usually, they're all psychopaths, and these propagandist establishment, they're all psychopaths. They act in terms of their psychopathic compulsion. But as they may prevent the formation of a corrupt government, but in 10, 15, if they do that, if they keep murdering, they disable the homeless and push millions into abject poverty. In 10, 15 years' time, they may have to deal with something a lot more sinister, possibly, that just what they fear in terms of a corrupt government. So that's peak inequality. And since 2008, obviously, the richest in society, they've been increasing their wealth. Uh, mm, Threefold. So think how long it took them to get to the point they were in 2008. But in the last In the last 10 years, they've been increasing their wealth threefold just in 10 years. So you have to wonder if the what happened really in 2008, and if the financial crisis was actually engineered, because if it was not engineered, they've been doing rather well by it, because they increased their wealth. All the rich in society, they've been increasing their wealth threefold. So if it was not engineered, they're doing rather well by it anyway. But there was rumor that they knew for a long time that Lehman Brothers was going down. The Feds was dragging his feet for weeks, months, not doing anything. So I mean, you can even ask the question: the financial crisis of 2008, which been pushing millions of people into abject poverty in North America and in Europe, was it engineered? I'm not saying it was. It's just a question. Just a question. So there we go. Peak inequality. Britain, ticking time bomb. Yes. Okay, let's talk about someone in the US, which is, you may say, Inan Omar, which she should be a bit, is a bit equivalent of our Chris Williamson, which is a member of Congress, a new member of Congress, Inan Omar, find herself in the United States a bit in the position or in the situation with Chris Williamson found himself in this country. So he had to, like Chris, he's been forced to make a apology over anti-Semitism. In reality, she had to, I think, from what I know about it, she has to make an apology for criticizing the state of Israel and his treatment of the Palestinian people, which now apparently they desperately trying to equate, to conflate with anti-Semitism, which is very convenient. Okay. So, not surprising, social media users are flocking to support this lady, member of Congress, the US Congress, Inan Omar, was pressured to issue an apology for her tweets about the Israel lobby influence over US politicians after she was accused of anti-Semitism. Talking about IPAC. And then there is some of the that's probably Medea Benjamin via Codping. She say, calling out the IPAC and support the Palestinian rights, the excellent, the wonderful, fantastic Medea Benjamin, which is another star. She say, calling out the IPAC and support the Palestinian rights is not anti-Semitic. Is speaking up for justice. That's what Medea Benjamin is saying about all this. Sorry, saga. Medea Benjamin, she is a star also, and when they was there with Elliot Abraham in Congress, and what called Pink, the Medea and all the member of Code Pink did then. It was fantastic, completely shaming this creature. Elliot Abrams, he was a convicted criminal, a warmonger, a neocon. I think he has a dual passport. By the way, that's that's is factual information. I think Elliot Abrams has a dual Israeli-American passport. So that is not a reflection on anything. It's just a fact. It's factual information. Yeah, for you. Elliot Abrams has a dual Israeli-American passport. That's a fact. So I don't want people to read too much into that or to start making allegations to them, anti-this, anti-that. I'm just sharing a fact with you. So Omar was seemingly forced to apologize by Democratic leadership after she tweeted about Israeli influence and named the powerful Israeli lobbying group IPAC as having a hold over US politicians and some. So, so it is another person I greatly admire. One of the saddest thing about this whole saga with this lady, with Chris Williamson, is that both this lady, Representative Inan Omar, and Chris Williamson, after all this, the accusations started flying, and they end up making rather abject apologies. It was really sad and depressing. They end up to show what this kind of pressure can do to people. Both this lady Inan Omar in the United States and Chris Williams in this country, when all the accusations start flying of anti-Semitism, they ended up making something. I must say, it sounded a bit like abject apologies for something. They had nothing to apologize about, because to start with, their comments, they were not anti-Semitic. If you want to adopt a rational, description of anti-Semitism, so they had to make it. So they end up making pretty abject apologies for something they had nothing to apologize about. So that's to show a bit the state of play, what is happening with enslavement. There's another article: total data domination, 5G, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence surveillance, and the smart city, or the smart city they're talking about is pretty sinister, but right. So, as I said, these broadcasts are totally rational. There is not a crazy claim, there is not outlandish claims, there is no unproven conspiracy theories, but something's quite interesting about G5, 5G, sorry, not G5, 5G, about the forthcoming 5G. I think the latest Samsung smartphone, the Samsung Galaxy 10s, is already 5G enabled, and so I think maybe there is Huawei phone, number Huawei phone. They are also there is already starting to build little network here and there this broadcast is totally rational. You don't find any single outlandish or conspiracy theory claim or anything. But what I would like to tell you and share with you is that this 5G network will use a frequency which is very well, you may say it's more or less the same as the one used with the active denial system, ADS, active denial system. Active denial system, they are the crowd control microwave device. What they look like, you think of a van, a medium-sized van with on top a big, something look like a big satellite dish, right? If they hit you, they can raise the temperature of your epidermis up to 90 degrees. and people feel like they are on fire, and so it's been used on a number of occasions in crowd control. This is not something that has to do with conspiracy theory. It is their use and their deployment and their existence has been reported like many times by mainstream media. It's quite sad that we have to talk about these ruffians as the fact that been appearing in mainstream media prove that they exist. The mainstream media, they're a bunch of fucking ruffians. But anyway, the existence of these active denial system, crowd control, diabolical devices have been confirmed by our friend in mainstream media, so they do exist, and 5G is going to use the same frequency as active denial system. I don't know if they're going to burn our skin or like active denial system do, if they find a way of using them without burning our skin or something. So that is all. Everything will be revealed in the future, and Internet of Things, another delightful development, and it's quite interesting. I can help myself to mention you know, the Julian Assange interview. That's quite interesting. But when it was asked about the Internet of Things, but maybe I should not digress too much. That's for another day. Julian Assange comments about the Internet of Things. That's very quite interesting. Oh, there's another one about all these things which you can buy from Amazon or from Google. This wondrous little gadget you can buy from Amazon and Google, which, by the way, don't pay any taxes. So they use all infrastructure provided by our taxpayer money without contributing a single penny in taxes. No wonder they managed to drive all kinds of business out, retail company and small shop out of business. They don't pay any taxes. So unlike most businesses based on the high street, which pay taxes. So scientists want Orwellian artificial intelligence, sentience, smart assistants to snitch on owners and discuss contacting police. So there's been already instances when these, people saying something in their home in the presence of this delightful gadget has been caused an intervention by law enforcement, and knowing even a situation where probably have been shot dead or something, because we know what this law enforcement is like in the United States. So there have been casualties. That's the delightful Amazon Echo there, which I won't use even if they were to pay me thousands. I mean, I wouldn't want it in my own home, even if they were to pay me thousands or something. But anyway. And let's go back at what all the other Orwellian news we are coming across. Oh, that is really nasty. Chelsea Manning reveals WikiLeaks grand jury subpoena. So they obviously they really kind of going on fishing expedition, try to do as much harm as possible. As much harm as possible to WikiLeaks, as much harm as possible to Julian Assange, as much harm as possible to freedom of speech, and as much harm as possible to the poor Chelsea Manning, which is also been known to be quite suicidal on a number of occasions in the last few months. So I don't know what they're trying to do there. Get probably a number of people dead, which wouldn't surprise me. Chelsea Manning is saying, I'm not going to contribute to a process that I feel is dangerous. It could potentially place me in a position where I am forced to backtrack on the truth. But my understanding is that if you're being subpoenaed by a grand jury, you have to attend, or you're facing some quite unpleasant consequences. So I don't know if they're trying to get a few more people dead, namely maybe Chelsea and Julian Assange or something, if they're trying to get a few more people dead. There's already like a lot of people, the close associates of Julian's have been dying. At least 3 people, close associates of Julian's, that have been dying in very mysterious circumstances. So I don't know if they're planning with this subpoena to increase the body count, including maybe Chesney herself and Julian or something. So. Oh, that's another nice one. U.S. forces smuggle 50 tons of gold from Syria. That's what they do always when they manage to get into a country, they steal the gold. So, but this is, so apparently it is, to evacuate of these ISIS people from Syria and to get them to a place of safety, they've been charging them. Say they requested the payment. The U.S. forces in Syria, before they were prepared to take all these ISIS people to safety, they asked the payment of required the payment of 50. So basically, they took away all their gold. To make an story short, 50 tons of gold. So these ISIS people, they've been looting and pillaging, and they have quite a lot of gold. The Americans say, oh, before we can put you to a place, transfer you to a place of safety, to reuse you in the future in some other regime change operation. We want all your gold, and we want to transfer it to the U.S. mainland, and that's what they did. Interestingly enough, after sponsoring the coup in Ukraine, all these, the same thing happened. All the Ukrainian gold was transferred to the United States. I suppose that is for safekeeping. For safekeeping. So, it's another chapter in the saga of we go back to the British Empire. The British Empire, the American Empire, they use terrorism as a political tool. So that's going on for 100 years, nothing new. And there have been many books written about it, but, try to explain it to private Mossad for IRC. That's all this story about the Mossad, which all the unspeakable stuff they're getting up to, including probably running this pedophile brothel at Lolita Island. All the unspeakable things the Mossad is getting up to, and including running this pedophile brothel at Lolita Island, which is supposed to be in an island, a private island owned by Jeffrey Epstein in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So interesting, because among the people frequenting Lolita Island, you can, to the best of my knowledge, I think there were Eric Kissinger, Ehud Barak, which was a former Israeli prime minister, Bill Clinton, Hillary even dropped by a couple of times. Apparently, if you're going by the log of the Lolita Express logs, Hillary. But Bill Clinton was he'd been there 40, 50 times anyway. So I think Trump was there quite a few times, and then he's very pally with Jeffrey Epstein, convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. And Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and is probably there running this kind of Mossad pedophile brothel in the U.S. Virgin Islands, fronted by Jeffrey Epstein. And it is quite interesting because Jeffrey Epstein's partner is Giselle Maxwell, which is the daughter of another Mossad spy, Robert Maxwell. So, which has been murdered, been suicide when they found himself in Robert Maxwell, when he found himself on a tight corner, it was probably like to spill all the beans, and then he very conveniently he committed suicide and get rid of him. That is a petition. Don't expel Chris Williamson MP from the Labour Party, which I duly sign, and I will advise everyone to do a Google search. And I suppose you need to be a member of the Labour Party, though. But if you are a member of the Labour Party, I will advise you to sign this petition and support Chris Williamson about his witch hunt, which is like a mix of the Spanish Inquisition and burning women at the stake, and what they're doing to Chris. And oops, see if I can. if I can, get back to the where I want to get back to, which is the covering the our Orwellian 1984. What's happening in 1984? Which planet? That's Richard Hall, which I think actually I don't want to comment on that, but I think like the spell Chris Williamson from the Labour Party. Is neoliberalism killing Russia? Now, that's quite interesting because it brings up a few things. This article was written by Paul Craig Roberts, former member of the Reagan administration, but nevertheless, I'm not a fan of Ronald Reagan, but I think Paul Craig Roberts is a man of great honesty, intellectual honesty, again, a man of great integrity. So this article was written by Paul Craig Roberts, the fantastic Michael Hudson, and basically there seemed to be a bit of an equivocation in the writing of the original article. Then there is some, for which then Paul Craig made actually a correction, or there's some data which have been misinterpreted, which seem to show that the popularity of President Putin is actually waning, whereas in fact the data was actually used incorrectly, and I think President Putin in Russia is as popular as ever. In fact, I think there is some indication it's becoming even more popular. But the title of the article is neoliberalism killing Russia? That's an element of truth in the article, in that after in the 90s, Russia was completely controlled by this Boris Yeltsin, which was basically working very close to the CIA, and all these oligarchs representing the Western terror financial banking cartel. They basically bought most of the assets of Russia for peanuts and for very cheaply, and then fortunately, Russia had a very strong. They inherited from the old Soviet Union a very strong, a very well-educated, strong, well-educated military and a well-educated intelligence community. So by the end of the 90s, they were looking what was happening in their country, empty shelves in the shops, and people were even unable to buy bread and these similar things. So they get together, the Russian military intelligence complex, they get together, and I mean in a positive way, because usually when you say, the military intelligence complex get together, they probably do something unspeakable. But in this case, it was like the Russian military intelligence complex, in the sense of very good Russian patriots, that they were seeing that their country being completely destroyed, going completely to the dogs. So they got together, they managed to get rid of this creature, Boris Yeltsin, and they managed to replace it with someone of their own, namely Vladimir Putin, which is in 18, 90 years, it did fantastic thing to stop the rot in the Russian economy, in Russian society. He did a fantastic job. That's another person I greatly admire. I need to tell you, I am a Russian bot. Yes, I am. I'm a Russia useful idiot. So I'm a great admirer of President Putin. And there was this Professor Cohen, which is one of the most eminent. Is American professor, Robert Cohen, I think, is probably the more preeminent scholar in the U.S. studying Russia, studying Russian society. It's not a pro-Putin. It's not a pro-Putin person. It's, not a pro-Putin academic. It's just studying Russia. It's probably been acknowledged as the uppermost scholar and academic in the term of knowing what is going on in Russia, understanding what is going on in Russia. Is probably is attached with some American university. I don't remember just now which one. And Professor Cohen he was on some kind of program. He made this statement that when, the dust is going to settle in the next 10, 20, 30 years, in the next 50 years, when all this nonsense and BS is going to settle, and people will acknowledge us probably President Putin is the greatest statesman of his time, and that's what Professor Cohen thinks. Is a scholar of all of everything happening in Russia in terms of society, and it's not a pro-Putin. It's not pro-Putin, but I think President Putin is going to be acknowledged as probably the biggest statesman of his time. That's what he thinks, Professor Cohen. Not a fan of President Putin. He's just a scholar and academic. That's what he thinks. Google Gestapo, pedophilia playground, probably referring to the story about the YouTube, bit of dodgy YouTube videos. Google Gestapo, pedophilia playground, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and what else is saying there? YouTube particularly culpable is ADL covering up to aid Mossad exploitation of pedophiles. That's that's entering a bit in dangerous territory because if you start talking about this kind of article, then they start accusing you of being anti-this, anti-that, or you're anti, So you say you say that the I mean it is a bit it's a bit, I suppose, controversial, but he's asking the question: is the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, covering up to aid Mossad exploitation of pedophilia? I wouldn't know. That's probably a bit far-fetched, but mind you, we know things about ADL, about Mossad, which are even more outlandish, as they've been proven to be true, but that's, Disintegration of global capitalism could unleash World War III. Yeah, because a lot of things happening at the moment are very much reminiscent of what was happening just before the World War I and World War II. So I mean, and then there is again this, I try to stay away from controversial topics, so I try not to bite end, which feeds me. But that's there was this article by Alexander Bruce of Forbidden Knowledge fame. Is about Facebook Insider leaks docs explaining political targeting. This came out on from Project Veritas, James O'Keefe. So I don't know. I don't know enough about Project Veritas. A lot of people on the right think they are fantastic. A lot of people on the left, they think they are fascist. The usual stuff. But I don't know enough to, I think some of the stuff they've been coming up with, they were quite good stuff, good solid information in the past. They probably, on the right of the political spectrum. That doesn't mean that they're evil, or that doesn't mean that you need to kill them, or that doesn't mean that, you have to despise everything they do. Yes, they're a bit on the right of the political spectrum. I think populists of the right and the left, the best populists of the right and the left, they should get together, take care of the bankers. That's what I think, instead of fighting each other. That I know that's going to get me a lot of sticks. It's going to get me a lot of sticks. But anyway, James O'Keefe is still a man of some integrity. Anyway, they are the one who have been bringing this information into public domain. Let's see if we can view the original article. And it's quite interesting because, sometimes we get targeted individual making some say making statements like, Facebook is preventing me from sharing your article or your post, or I'm unable to comment on your post. Oh, come on. People say, oh, come on, don't be paranoid. You're probably imagining things and stuff. But it's quite interesting because this article shows that some of the seemingly outlandish allegations some people make about all the machination the taking place in social networks, it seems that some of them are actually quite real now. So there is not the information I was looking there because to get the information on Forbidden Knowledge, you need to watch the video. So there is not there basically. Get rid of it. So, but I read another article where actually, Facebook, I'm sure similarly other social network, they actually to censor people, they do the most crazy thing. The most crazy thing. It's when people say like, including preventing people from sharing posts and preventing people from commenting on posts. Sometimes something which targets individuals sometimes mentioned, and people say, "Oh, come on, don't be paranoid. They would never bother to do that to you." I mean, and then these whistleblowers seem to say that they actually, particularly at some critical time when they want to control the information, there is some election going on, something important, they actually do this kind of crazy thing, like preventing people from sharing information, preventing people from commenting on posts. So you see, there you go. And yes, let's see if we can find some more Orwellian stuff to show you. The excellent Peter Stefanovich on Twitter. I think. That's. That's it. I want to share this one with you because BBC One News just announced record numbers of people are in work. That record numbers of people are in work. And average earnings are rising. But it's the BBC, It's just a propaganda organization. They are quite good at what they do because they, to brainwash people, you need to, to get some trust from people. They're quite good at pretending that they are kind of impartial whilst disseminating unspeakable lies and things. They overlooked the little fact that 4 million British workers are living in poverty. Yes, Peter Stefanovich, that's what he's saying, but, about some of the unspeakable stuff, lies being disseminated by. That's another thing. That's from Excellent Information Clearinghouse. It's one of the best. Some of the article. Information Clearinghouse. You can find some of the best article, and that's from maybe a couple of days ago, or maybe yesterday, by Jonathan Cook, which. He lives actually in Nazareth in the West Bank. I don't know why, but maybe because he likes living there. So it is by the excellent Jonathan Cook. Witchfinders are now ready to burn Corbyn. Yeah, I think it's a very, I wonder if there's some revenge of the Blairite. I wonder if there's mention of. So he's talking in this article about many interesting things. He says Corbyn's success has also outraged vocal supporters of Israel, both in the Labour Party. Some NAT MPs are stalwart members of Labour Friends of Israel. for which Israel can do no wrong. And so they total support the friend of Israel, labor friends of Israel. If they can probably like nuke the Palestinians, they will say it's a good idea or something. That's kind of friend of Israel. Ain't the UK media? Because quite rightly, it's like one of the things that they're so desperate to get rid of Corbyn is the first British party leader in sight of power to prefer the Palestinian right to justice over Israel's continuing oppression of the above-mentioned Palestinians. For this reason, the Blair MPs have been trying to oust Corbyn any way they can. Correct? First, through a fiery run of the leadership constant, we noticed how assist, and then by assisting the corporate media, which is equally opposed to Corbyn, in smearing him variously as a shamble, a misogynist, a sympathizer with terrorists, and a Russian asset, and finally as an enabler of anti-Semitism. It's quite interesting the way some of the closest the people working with Corbyn, the closest associate or advisor, the way they've been treated. There's Seamus Milne, now they try to make up that is some kind of it's kind of Russian spy because he attended a Valtai summit in Russia, which was attended by all kind of prime minister and by the prime minister, foreign secretaries, and by some I don't know many countries. So because like. Seamus Milne attended some time ago a meeting, a summit in Valdai, which was the meeting was attended by President Putin and also by under head of state as well. So that makes him his presence at this kind of summit is make him into some kind of Russian spy, Seamus Milne. So obviously the people. They're propagating all this nonsense. They obviously. Between the fluoride in the water and the fact that people are just spending most of the time trying to put food on the table, people don't have probably the energy, the mental and physical energy to look through these lies, and so they sit like in a state of stupor after holding down 3 jobs to feed their kids or something. They come home in the evening, they slump in front of the telly in a state of total exhaustion and stupor. They're good recipients for all these completely preposterous lies about Jeremy Corbyn, about Seamus Milne, about Chris Williamson, and all the rest of it. This last accusation has proved most fruitful after the Israel lobby began to expand the definition of anti-Semitism to include not just hatred of Jews, but also criticism of Israel. They try to conflate criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism, which we know now that they were. Labour was eventually forced to accept a redefinition formulated blah blah blah. So that's another interesting one, which chance and thing. How Amnesty International is reinforcing Trump regime change propaganda. Yeah, we know about all this amnesia. Sometimes I call them Amnesia International. Warmongering for the establishment for I don't know many years, 50 years, and all these NGOs, they're probably more or less the same. I went through all this one again. Our scientists to fight global warming by spraying particles into atmosphere 4,000 times a year. So that's quite interesting because I was a part of the that's the UME it's called chemtrails. I was part by this excellent Matt Agorist, which is is writing a really fantastic article. I think it's also wrote a few articles in supporting targeting individual claims at some point. So he's a fantastic, excellent Matt Agorist. So I was part of the anti-chemtrail movement in London. I took part in conferences and marches, and basically one of the reasons I found the people there very sympathetic and very supportive of the claims of target individuals. So, I was going there, I was taking part, I was leafleting. The people there were very friendly. Well, people may be friendly, maybe, but they were actually supportive. They were listening. They were, they were giving credence to our claims. So, and the interesting thing is, until maybe 2 years ago, um, if you talk about to anyone about chemtrails, the immediate reaction was like, "Oh, you must be crazy. You're mentally ill. There is not any such thing. They're all contrails." Even though, in spite of overwhelming evidence, they're all contrails. They're not chemtrails. You're imagining things. You're a paranoid, and etc. Then a couple of years ago, we get all these government scientists that they're coming out with starting to say, "Oh yeah, of course we are doing it. What do you think? Of course we are doing it. We are doing to counter climate change. We are spraying all these little particles in the atmosphere, namely maybe possibly aluminum and all the other heavy metals, lovely heavy metals like barium and strontium and the rest of it." Which are pretty lethal and to humans. And so a couple of years ago, you get all these government scientists coming out and say like, "Oh yeah, of course we do it. We are going to we are spraying this stuff. What do you think?" And we have nothing sinister. No, we have tried to counter climate change, and so aluminium particle to reflect the whatever there's sun or light and things. So basically, this article is pointing out that what they're doing is really dangerous, and it's pointing out that what they're doing, like most of the Frankenstein things they're getting up to, from 5G to increasing, building a huge arsenal, nuclear weapon, nuclear state. Most of the stuff that is totally lethal. I mean, so this is a list of the things that can possibly go wrong with this program, and they say, well, may God help us, because these sound pretty lethal with devastating side effects and stuff. So then I wanted to talk about the new dissenter. Not so much dissenter extension. That is the dissenter extension. The dissenter extension on for Firefox. I suspect probably similar one for Chrome, Google Chrome, and Opera, other browsers, and but that's not what I really wanted to talk about. If I can show you the dissenter website. So let's start with talking about Gab. Unfortunately, I myself, as traditional, I think I've been, since I was at university, even before, I always been but it's so difficult nowadays, because if you say it's so polarized, the political, even more than before. So anything you say, anything you're going to say is going to be used against you. Basically, everything is going to say is going to be used against you. You need to be really careful. But I need to confess, yes, since I was at university, even before, I've been quite left-wing, right? But if someone from the right come up with something which seemed like there is, and it may sound unbelievable to you, but there are some people from the right wing of the political spectrum, the people with integrity, which are saying quite a lot of interesting things. It may sound shocking to you if you're being caught into this kind of left-wing, completely obsession of, but. So I'm still left wing. But I think I I think if someone from the right come up with some good idea, and I'd say, oh, you're a fascist. I don't go to that. Oh, you're a, no, I listen. Say, oh, actually, that may sound like a good idea. And maybe some good idea. That is the thing which is quite interesting because, this, with the left, with progressive movement, I still consider myself a person of the left, like I've been left most of my life. But I mean, there is also this original sin that with the left, with progressive movement, which since the very inception of the left, the progressive movement have been like co-opted and very much manipulated and used by the international banking cartel of the money lending cartel of the financial banking cartel for their own purpose. That may go as far back as Oliver Cromwell at the French Revolution and then on So that's also this original sin, I believe, in the. I still consider myself a man of the left, but I think this kind of original sin, whereby since the very inception, progressive movement have been somewhat co-opted and manipulated by the money lending cartel, by the banking cartel. So in a way, it's not sometimes to get a certain thing, a certain truth out. Sometimes you need someone coming from the right because because there's been this kind of original incestuous relation between the left and the money lending cartel, the banking cartel. There's a certain truth that sometimes you're never going to hear them from someone coming from the left, but you need to. Sometimes you need someone like Paul Craig Robertson or like some Ron Paul to say certain truth, because the people of the left, so anyway, I think if I'm a left-wing person, if someone comes from the right with some good idea of telling some truth that maybe you're unable to hear from people from the left, I say, okay, yes, that sounds a good idea. I don't say, oh, you sound like you're slightly right-wing, so I think you're a fascist or something. So, talking about Gap, basically, yeah, it's true. Gap is mainly, you may say, if you keep thinking in terms of left-right political spectrum, then Gap, I suppose, is a position itself a bit on the right of the political spectrum. Yes, that's correct. What I found attractive about Gab, what I found what I found attractive about Gab is that if I go on Gab and say something fairly outrageous, maybe fairly outrageous from the left wing. I mean, like not something which I suppose you can find a gabble of people saying outrageous things from a slightly right wing point of view. If I go there, I say outrageous thing from a left wing point of view, I don't have to worry about them, deleting my account, which I do all the time. Every time I post something on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, I think, but I'm worried about getting my account deleted. So that's what I found quite attractive about Gab. Even though most of the people there may have a right-wing leaning, if I go there, I post something which is outrageously left-wing, I don't think they're going to delete me. But if I do that on Facebook or Twitter, they may actually delete me. So that's what I found attractive about Gab. I can go there, say whatever I want without reason. Yeah, and then I'm going to delete my account. So I think that is quite attractive, because every time I post something on Facebook, on Twitter, or on YouTube, I get worried that they're going to delete my account. That's what can be said about Gab. Yeah, that's a good point. And then they create this new website, a new application, which is called the Center, which is basically they have on the top of the page they have a news ticker going with all the most important news of the day, and then you can choose some of this news and say whatever you want about them. And unless you say something really horrible like advocating violence or something, that they're not going to delete you. And that's a good thing, I think. They're not going to delete you. So you can, or you can, alternative there, if you can see my cursor, you can post the article there and comment not just on their choice of news article, but you can enter a article of your choice and see what you think about it. And there is very little danger, unlike Facebook or Twitter or all these other organizations. There is little danger of them deleting your account. So that's so I would advise people, I would encourage people to have a look at this new application website called Dissenter, which is a spin-off of Gab. Yeah, it's a good thing about them. Yeah, they probably have some sort of right-wing leaning. But if I go there, but the good thing for me, if I go there, I post something outrageously left-wing, I know they're not going to delete me. And that's a good thing, because So, and then where are we now? So I think it's 2 hours. I've been talking, rambling, and digressing, and making a fool of myself for 2 hours. So I think I'm going to stop now. I think I'm going to stop now until 2 hours mark. It's probably a good time for me to stop and shut up. So it's all work in progress. I'm making this broadcast, it's just to keep in touch with people, because at the moment the video doesn't seem to be getting a lot of support. So let's wake up support for the videos. That's one of the to try to persuade people to join us at the videos, Wednesday video of Side Parliament. And also to try to make people aware to the sharing of books and articles, etc., that the dire situation we are finding ourselves into at the moment. They are pressing us, they're taking away our, they're pushing us into abject poverty. They taking away our civil liberties in this country. Very difficult to get any. If you get like the victim of some injustice, it's very difficult to get any legal aid of any description at the moment. So you're just stuck. If you get sacked unjustly from your job or something, or if victimized in any way, that hardly. Except for very, very few, spatial situations, you can get any legal aid. So you find yourself at the victim of some injustice or something. There's nothing you can do about it, because you don't have the money to hire a lawyer. Legal aid is almost completely defunct, so they're taking away, pushing out into object power, taking away legal aid, taking away civil liberty, taking away freedom of speech, privacy, everything. And unfortunately, people are too busy holding down 3 jobs and then visiting the job, the food bank in the evening to have the energy to realize what's going on to them. It's like the boiling frog thing, like you're all being boiled, and we're like, hardly anyone is doing it to escape the pan, and so we're going to be fried to death, all of us. So I think to make people aware that we are being enslaved is getting worse all the time. Then I try to encourage people to come to these Wednesday vigils, and try to tell people what's happening with Les, London and stalking, share information. At the moment it's a bit shambolic. There's a lot of rambling and a lot of digressing and lack a bit of structure. Basically, there's not a lot of structure there, but I think I'm sharing good user information. Before I leave you, I want to one last thing. Actually, I want to show you. Make you aware that on next Sunday, the 10th of March, between 3 and 5, outside the Ecuadorian embassy, there is going to be another video in support of Julian Assange. No U.S. extradition, and the abuse being inflicted on Julian has been. And I'm not going to go into all that. Maybe some other time, but it's been pretty diabolical. I heard that the people visiting him, they found out that he lost a huge amount of weight. And then for 7 months it's been kept completely incommunicado, and he couldn't surf the internet, he couldn't make telephone or receive telephone calls, he couldn't have visitors except his legal team. Even with his legal team and the people at the embassy were quite funny about allowing people to visit. So horrific abuse, also the opportunity for target individual maybe to go there and raise awareness about other issue relating to targeting, and live, like I've been done 100 times before anyway, going there, talking to people. So that's another thing maybe people, I want to let people know about. And so, as I said, it's work in progress. There's a lot of rambling, there's a lot of digressing. I like to think there is also a lot of very good information there, and to raise awareness about targeting, to raise awareness about the fact that we are all being enslaved, and our living condition and economic condition, psychological condition is getting more dramatic and more every day. And to encourage people to come to the Wednesday vigil, from 2 to 3, right hand side of the House of Parliament, main carriage entrance, and to share with you some of the totally Orwellian, unbelievable, you have to pinch yourself, information, news coming, happening every day, that sometimes you really have to pinch yourself. It's totally Orwellian. And also to let you know about good article, good book, important events, and between my rambling and between. So that's all for today. And next one hopefully is going to be tomorrow.